Yo, what's up, Daniel? Hey. I think we should be good on both. So we should be live everywhere. What's up, Link? Yeah, we should be live everywhere, and all the chat should be working. So you got them both covered this week. I did, Mal. I think we are good with that. The way I'm doing it, I don't think is how it's necessarily intended to be used, but it is how I'm doing it. Yeah, I have two different dashboards and two different all that, and I schedule them, and then I pull them all into one place. Hey, Paul, what's up, dude? Yo, what up, Piratey? Welcome in. Let me make sure I am everywhere I need to be, and then let me go ahead and post in my Discord that I am live. How are we feeling about this week's Critical Role? What are we thinking, folks? What are we thinking? Live noties. Let me do that. All right, we have sent out the notification in Discord. We should be ready to rock. We are ready to talk all things Critical Role. And of course, if you are currently on the vertical version of my YouTube stream, I am live horizontally as well. So just click on my profile picture, go on over and do that. What's up, Sunken Train? Welcome in, dude. Prediction for the cold open, we get a Murray flashback with a young Wick. That would be interesting. Like, what would their interaction be? Why would she have a young Wick with her? I mean, I guess there's any reason they could. They're in the same place, but he didn't go to the Penteveril, I don't think. So I'm not as sure about that. But either way, I think that could be either one of those people. I agree. We haven't gotten Sam yet, and we haven't gotten Murray in a while. So I'm with you on that. Well, I actually got something right last week. I wonder if Julian Shadow might react strangely with the Barodel. Probably the last time we write about anything. I wonder if, I mean, I think it had a higher impact on him, but I think that was just part of the scenario was him and, yeah. Taisha and then the NPCs. I got you vertical on my phone so I can chat, watch horizontal on my TV. Heck yeah, dude. Daniel says, looking forward to the conclusion of the Seekers arc. Should be a good episode for combat. Yeah. You think Matt would choose to level up on the rogue side. I think he was so blatantly in that thing, trying not to say that he was prepping for the Echo Knight thing. I don't know. It was also apparently like when they were recording something else and then they were starting with that. I don't know. I almost don't like getting the look behind the scenes with those videos. Maybe it's just me, but it just shows more about how structured and planned and produced it is. I almost don't like getting those because, like, remember if you watch the video, the Level Up Seekers video, at the start, Brennan is starting the next episode. And then they're like, no, we're going to do the level up thing first. And then they cut into that. And then Matt's trying to hide like what his fighter thing is, even though like everybody knows that it's the Echo Knight thing, but he's like, well, if it I don't know. I don't, maybe it's just me. What's up, Astro Panda? Link says Murray might have had an interaction with Halavars, and from what she struck a conversation with Buchanan. Yeah, so it could be. It definitely could be. Or they do one with Murray this week and one with Wick next week, or vice versa. Also completely possible when it comes to that. Jayhawk, what's up, dude? Welcome back. Which NPC doesn't make it out tonight? My guess would be the Knight of Saramai. I think the Knight of the Saramai. Shadow things come to a head. You mean with like people all debating on choosing Shadow stuff? like wanting to choose Shadow Touch. Like 2 of them were debating on Shadow Touched, and then Julian was talking about what. So here's the thing that throws me off, because he knows what we all are thinking about the level up thing, like the Echo Knight thing. But then the whole point of the level up is for them to discuss what they're going to do, and then he's still intentionally like, oh, I'm not going to say. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't cover the level up. Well, so Jamie, on the last one, it felt like there was more to cover. People were like, they listed 3 feat options and all, like a bunch of stuff. And I feel like we didn't get as much of that. It was so cool, but it felt like it was like people were just like, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to do this, this, that. I'm going to like, Ashley was like the one person who was like, I'm unsure about these 3 or 4 things. Alex might have had like 2 feat options, maybe. And then Taisha was just like, I'm doing this. And Julian hid half of what he was going to pick. It just didn't seem like that. Like, it's one of those where I could have made a video, and maybe I should have. But it would have just been like less exciting. Like last time I talked about their HP is going to go from this to this. They did that in the last thing. Or they did that in this one, which they didn't in the first one. I don't think they said, oh, your HP is going to go from this to this. Maybe they did. And then there was less discussion about like, oh, should I take this or that? Should I take this or that? So that's kind of why I was like, I don't know. All right, let me continue to catch up. I hope Dr. Talcher makes it. She's cool. I agree. She's been a nice little addition to that group. Even before she got there, I liked that. Also, Clive, the stuff with Clive was fun last week. Asher says, meal planning to make soup after return from spring break. All right, heck yeah. Are you enjoying your spring break? Paul said yes, okay. Daniel says, Animatic this week is of the scene where Octus tells Talcher about the prophecy. Yeah, somebody posted that in the Discord, I think. They posted that's what it was this week. Link Journey says, so how many gods do you think had contingency plans to save themselves in the event of their demise? We know the Sun God had one. Yeah, that was a very interesting twist to be like, oh, he has a plan for what to do if I'm taken out. And then also he was like, if I'm ever gone, I'm going to come back. Like, there's always a new dawn. So that is interesting. How many others had it? Cataruxus, thanks for the follow on Twitch. I don't know. We don't know as much about some of the other gods to know, like, did they have those types of personalities? Would they have thought that through? Did they believe they could ever be destroyed? We don't know as much about those things. But it's a great question, Link, for sure. Daniel says, maybe Dame Gaia sacrificed herself to save Octus, heroic ceremony death to match a villainous one. Yeah, again, I could totally see something like that. But I do think that she may end up falling in this episode. Maybe, oh wait, I already read that. Are they fighting Celestial tonight or preventing the summoning? Jason, I don't know. I think, again, Celestials are kind of brought about as like these are the direct things below the Shapers. Like the Shapers created these things. They can ferry the dead. They can do it. Like they have been touted as very strong. Zephyriel, thanks for the follow. So right now we're talking about tonight's episode, Matt, on TikTok. We're talking about tonight's episode. So if you haven't watched episodes all the way up till episode 16, then yeah. Again, to go back to the point, Celestials, in my mind, the way they've been presented are these really powerful beasts, huge things. And so it's like, I don't want them to fight them at level 4 or level 3. Like that just, yeah. So I don't know if they'll prevent it, or maybe they don't prevent it, but then they get away. Or we get another, the villains win, but then they leave instead of finishing people off. Like maybe we get another one of those. It has 30 stars. Oh, gotcha. Okay, Astro. Well, nice. I hope you enjoy it. Paul says, I have played at tables where players have been like the soldiers and have also played with people more calculated on leveling like the seekers. I think it just speaks to how different the tables play. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's not even, I don't know if the soldiers were still calculated. They just had, like, they were more open to options. And it just felt like the seekers came in and were like, yeah, I'm going to pick this. Right? Like I don't think Taisha had like an op. She just said, I'm going to pick this. right? She was like Brennan got to her for the level up thing, and she was just like, I'm gonna do this. Cool. Here's my HP, right? There wasn't like, ooh, depending on the moment. Ashley's really the only one who gave us that. And then Matt was like, I'm either going to level up to second level rogue for cunning, or I'm going to do the secret thing that we all know is Echo Knight. That's basically it. Hey, Grim Knight, what's up, dude? Welcome back. Hey, Sherry, what's up? 1 second, Zephyr. I'm going to catch up on chat and I'll respond to your comment on Twitch. How you been liking the campaign so far? Timmy, I've been enjoying it. It's been different for sure, but it's still been enjoyable. I have a feeling that combat tonight is going to be tough. John, I think so as well, and I would expect it for where they are and what they're doing. If it's not, I would be a little surprised. And I think it could be a slog if like Brennan chooses to make it harder, but in turn adds in some of the other NPCs that might be there, like Aligar or Captain Beerza. Like if he adds them in, now it's this long combat potentially because there's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, enemies going and players and NPCs and all that sort of stuff. So Piratey Steve says, you'd think the Trickster Goddess would have a plan. Also very true, but she was maybe the most caught off guard, right? She showed up for a play, and the play did it versus like, oh, they came in and attacked her. I don't know. Belaire's Warlock Patron, maybe they got herself. Yeah, so that's a question we've talked about a couple times where it's hard to know because it doesn't make as much sense for him, a mask, to have a patron, right? Like that's just an odd thing. Like he was an item created to kill a god, and yet he has a patron. Link asks, are we expecting a full-on combat or more of a dungeon crawl this episode? I'm thinking full-on combat, but we won't know until we know. So now Zeph over on Twitch says, do you have any advice for a beginner? I've always been wanting to get into D&D, but it's hard to find a community where I live and online. Any advice would be very much appreciated. So if you don't have any local game stores where you're at, it can be tough. There's no doubt. Local game stores, meaning like shops that do Magic the Gathering tournaments and Pokemon and Lorcana and shops that do sell comic books and stuff. Most of those places also tend to be where D&D games can happen. So if you can't find anything local and you've really searched, there are a lot of ways to find them online. You can do Start Playing, which is more of a pay to be at a table sort of thing, but you can find the games you want. So you have that. There's also Reddits out there for it. There are Discords out there for finding groups. There's the D&D Beyond forums for finding groups. Like there are a lot of places and ways to find groups. Zeph. Sherry said, hope combat. I think we're going to get it, Sherry. I think we are. EWE says, having 3 DMs at a table would do that, right? Yeah, for sure. I just think it was more for somebody. The reason it came up is somebody asked me why I didn't cover it. Like I didn't make a video. Because I did for the soldiers. The soldiers, it was like every one of them was like, here are my 4 or 5 options that I might do. Here's the 3 or 4 feats I might take. Here's the this or that, the stats I might. And so you could break it down and say, oh, they're choosing between these 3 or 4, and I think they should take this one, and this is why, and here's a benefit they would get if they took this other one. Whereas I just couldn't really do that with that one, except for like with Ashley. Like that's basically the only person, unless I just went in and took like whatever I wanted and didn't pay attention to what they said. Taisha also asked to customize her animal form. Yeah, Bearable. She did bring up wanting to talk to Brennan about leveling up her animal form, her wild shape in a different way, which is interesting. Hello. What's up, Jaden? Jaden the Bard. Welcome back, dude. Chat time for my second favorite part of Thursdays. Once again, excited for another amazing live stream. Happy to have you, dude. Dr. Caliban says, hey, Daniel with a $5 super chat. I'll wait for it to pop up. Speaking as a kind of player who maps out his character progression several levels ahead, I feel this is a disconnect between they are playing a game versus we are watching a show. What, do you mean like our disconnect or their disconnect? Dr. Caliban. The super chat from Daniel says, soldiers' combat at the end of their arc was brutal. 2 of them nearly died. Do we think there will be any PC deaths in this episode? So that takes us back to, I think last week it came up, I don't remember who said it, that I think the idea is nobody's going to die in their first arcs. That's the idea, right? It's speculation that people said, well, if the soldiers made it through when they probably could have died, then maybe but I do think maybe they've entered a place to be, it's more dangerous, Daniel. I think where they're at. I think, yes, they were fighting the Taconas. They were doing all that. This is a place filled with undead. Also people who want to kill you from the Taconas and the potential of a Celestial. So I want to say no, because again, I don't know that Brennan wants to kill anybody or plans to this early. And for these players, it is this early. They've played like 5 sessions total out of these like 17. But this is dangerous. So I could say, I'm not going to be surprised if it happens. I'll say that much. I will say that a PC death would not surprise me, but I'm not necessarily expecting it, if that makes sense. Now catching back up with the others. Thank you again for that super chat. I didn't set a goal for the super chats. Whoops. I normally do that just cause. So I'll do that now. I will just say that it already has one. Let's see. Paul said, I wonder if the paint for Hallow's Celestial blood from Wick's Celestial grandfather. Oh, like filament that he stole and like pretended was paint or turned into paint? New Dice, what's up, dude? Welcome back. He says, I've DM'd about 10 games online over the last 2 years, here and there, finally starting an actual once a week in person game. As a DM, terrified but excited. I love in person so much more. I DM in person once a week. Online has some, nice parts about being a DM of just easily pulling up any map you want, not having to worry about anything. It just maps everywhere, just throwing tokens and stuff. You don't need minis and all that sort of stuff, but I do prefer in person. But I'm sure you'll have a blast, dude. Paul says, when do we think Thimble will show up and meet Belair? Probably. Oh, that's a good question. I wonder if that'll just happen during the Schemers arc. I wonder if that'll happen there. Chrome says, is it supposed to be lots of undead in the place they are going? Yeah, I mean, they're in the Barrows with all the undead stuff. And we were told the undead had been more active there and all that sort of stuff. And so the group, the 180 soldiers were sent there basically to like clear it out. Zeph says, also, any advice for what I would need to buy it to get into D&D, apart from Player's Handbook, of course? Dice. If you're going to play online, you don't even really need those, to be fair. But like if you want to play in person, dice is basically, yeah, you need to be able to roll dice. And it's nice to have the Player's Handbook and stuff. Again, you can find a lot of stuff online. But if you're playing in person, being able to quickly reference the book or just Google the answers, there's a lot of resources out there for that. Our disconnect. That also could be it. That also could be it, Dr. Caliban. I mean, there's definitely part of it because, like I said, when they were doing it, they were recording 2 episodes that day and doing the level up episode. Like, we found that out because they didn't edit that out of the level up. Like, they had Brennan start the next episode and then somebody come and say, oh, no, we're doing the level up thing first. And then he said something about, oh, we're doing 2 episodes today, something like that, whatever he said. So yeah. Could the sword that Hal has sort of the prophecy? Well, again, that prophecy turned out to be fake, right? Or not fake. It turned out to be one that has already been fulfilled. Matt says, and a PC death would have us all on the edge of our seats next week. I mean, that's true. That's very true. Jay Hawk says, cold open maybe Belair, Murray and Thimble playing how to get sit into the city. Ooh, that would be interesting. Yeah, that is one way they could do it, but then it would feel like, well, I guess we'd get Murray. I was going to say, because I feel like Murray and Wick we haven't seen in a while, so. Her last Thursday of every month, they were taking it off. I think they've kind of thrown that out for now, Mama Hun. There is an episode tonight. Yeah, so I think that's how they've been doing things like episode or campaign 3 and all sort of stuff, Mama Hun. But I'm pretty sure they scrapped that, at least for now. At least for now. Nyan says, I hope Gaia gets to show her reptilian powers thermomechanically. 1T. Yeah, that would be dope. Again, we said if one NPC is going to die tonight, I expect it to be her. Whether or not that happens or not, I mean, who knows? But that would be my expectation. But hopefully she gets to do some cool stuff before that, Nyan, for sure. Chrome says, I think the cold open would be Murray or Wick. Yeah, those are the two that we're kind of waiting on. Tabasco, what's up, dude? Welcome back. Do you think that Dakonas will monopolize the Celestial for divine power to have exclusive access to divine magic? Absolutely. Whatever they want to do is for their own good. Yeah, they want to monopolize. I don't think there's a single bit of me that thinks like the Dakonas are doing something to help somebody else out. No, they're bad. Suzu bucking that trend. Yep. Mixed in with the paint. Okay, I mean, that would be interesting. We've all been wondering what that paint is, like what it could mean. Nyan says, Sam faced some rolls that could have killed him outright as they would have done a damage spirit to 3 times his total. Yeah. Yeah, a couple of times. I like the behind the scenes level up. I think it's cool too. I think the soldiers one was more interesting. I don't mind it. I think there's 2 reasons I didn't like this one as much. One, they didn't list out a bunch of options like the soldiers did. Like I've already covered this, I think, twice since this started. So I apologize for those re-listening to it for the 3rd time in the last 23 minutes. But the Seekers didn't list, like Ashley's the only one who listed like 3 options. Whereas the soldiers, like every person was like, I'm thinking about this, or that. And then it was fun to think, oh, well, if they do this, that's how I would change that. Or if they do this, that's how that would, and you just couldn't really do that with the Seekers. The other side was I didn't like hearing or seeing production and them talking about what they were doing and giving the behind the scenes of all that because it just makes it feel fake. Which I know sounds stupid, but they were basically saying they were doing 2 episodes and they were doing the level up between, which means the level up was recorded probably directly after what we just watched in episode 16. And all they do is go change clothes in the other room and then come back. Like they're like it's faking being a new day when it's not. And I'd rather them just wear the same clothes because it feels fraudulent to me to be like, all right, everybody change your shirt so we can record the next episode. Like, I don't like that, but that's just a me thing. Yeah. Hope all is well. What's up, Noah? Is this last session for the Seekers? They like 2 episodes ago they said there's 2 more episodes, but people were alluding to there being something different in like one of the ads or teasers. But I think this was supposed to be the last session for the Seekers. Zeph says, would you appreciate it if someone showed up in full cosplay as a Dean character in IRL sessions? If that was the vibe of the group, sure. If they did it just for funsies, I don't think it would bother anybody unless they like started like being weird. But yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Like my players don't show up that way. Yeah. New Dice says, I would love to see all the behind the scenes of a week filming CR. Was Octus pushed ahead of time to use the books to get all the lore from the rocks, or did he just actually remember that? We will never know if they, if some of these things are more structured and planned than we think. I believe they are. I'll say that. I do not believe the whole of Critical Role is scripted. I think that there is discussion amongst the players and with the DM where they say, hey, do this thing. Hey, make sure that gets hit at some point before you get to Y. Like, I do think those things happen. But that's just me, and I still enjoy the show, and I don't think it's fully scripted and blah, blah, blah. But I do think that there are things like that happen. So maybe he did say, hey, do the legend lore thing. I want you to show you something cool. I don't know. I need more Murray. Yeah, we might get her in the cold open tonight. Have they not confirmed the statues are dead? Wait, what statues? Mama Han with a 250 super chat. Did it come with a message? Not even with a message. Let me get a little heart on that. Thank you for the 250 super chat. I appreciate that. Let me catch up on chat. Statues are dead. What Oh, no. Like the ones that they found. That were like being turned to stone from the Takonas. I wonder if it'd be a mixed soldier schemers episode or two. The whole thing about having Belair and Murray bring City. That's what, yeah, exactly, Power. That's what I'm thinking is like, we're going to get to the schemers and the soldiers are going to be back, maybe. Or maybe they're not yet because of time-wise, right? The soldiers they had to go all the way out there 4, 5, 6 days, whatever, and then come all the way back. And so the schemers have only had like 48 hours from the last time we saw them, I think. So we may get some of that before, but at some point they are going to be mixed because they're coming back to meet with them, or at least one of them, so. Nikki, what's up, dude? No, so he let Ashley see what it was, but nobody told us. It just kept a secret from us, so I'm not sure. Could the shade surrounding Julian and Gaia affect their future combat? That's a great question. I would be curious if those shades are still floating around them at this moment, or if they kind of outran them at a point, like they got to a safe zone or something. Matt is either rogue or fighter. Well, yeah, he is currently a rogue and a fighter. He's a second level fighter, first level rogue. So when he levels up, he's choosing to either go second level rogue and get cunning actions, which are strong, or he goes third level fighter and gets a subclass, which he's trying to hide from us, and the level up, which again just makes it silly. Hey, let's do this level up show thing, but I'm gonna keep everything a secret. So yeah, even though we all know it's probably Echo Knight. Mayhaps the paints are marvelous pigments. Maybe. I feel like it's going to be something like very specific to like the story and lore and stuff like that. That's where my mind goes. I'm trying to remember, but haven't they alternate between someone from the Schemer's Secret? It was Soldier Schemer's Seekers, so would it be Murray? Yeah, that's why I think Astro it probably will be, because they did Soldiers last week. Paul says, I hope they make the level up during play similar to the soldiers. Yeah, well, that's their plan, is for people to have their moment. I could see Valus is hitting right away, depending on what happened with her being lifted up off the ground by the birds, right? Like, we ended last episode with these birds all shooting out of this, the clothes and the helmet and all that sort of stuff, and her being lifted off the ground 5 feet. Shoot, she might be like, level up! Like, and now's the time. Nyan says, I am intrigued with Julian having ready a level up both with rogue and fighter classes. Fighter with a subclass pick would be more exciting, but I'd be intrigued by a rogue level up too. Yeah. So he will be further behind going rogue. Like, yes, he'll get the cool stuff with like being able to dash and do all that. Like there are benefits, no doubt. But he gets a feeder and no. Because he's not going to be fourth in either one. Never mind. Ignore me. My brain went somewhere else. Either way, he can either get a subclass, which is more monumental, or he gets the other thing. So yeah. I agree. I think it'd be totally fine if they wear the same shirts. Yeah. The idea of trying to hide it, I'm not a fan. And it does make it feel less like a D&D game when you actually know that stuff and think about it. Like, oh, they sat there, they changed their shirts, and they came back. Like, yeah. More describing liking of the showing of the production of the more. I'm understanding your viewpoint is definitely a bit jarring. Realized that they filmed 2 sessions in one day. Yeah. I'm with you. Don't think it's scripted, but I totally believe some friendly reminders are given and it works for me. Yeah, it works for me. Yeah. They made it known with Dimension 20, but this it's feeling more off. Because it's not what it was. I think Dimension 20 was always like that, whereas this isn't what that was. Cameron says, I thought the 2 videos Brennan mentioned were the level up in tonight's episode. I still think there will be another episode, but tonight's giving me finale vibes. I don't know if there will be, but I'm pretty sure with something he said, it made it sound like they were doing back-to-back, like it was episodes and episodes, and they had just had like a break, and then they came back for the second episode, and they were going to do the level up first. But again, I don't know. Jason says, not sure about filament in the paint since it came from Thiazi. I think it might be some kind of protection or some sort of hallowed round. Yeah, again, I don't know if I go with the filament thing because yeah, I agree. I don't know why Thiazi would be like, hey guys, I want you to have some filament. And we haven't heard anything about filament having been stolen or anything like that yet, which, excuse me, I think we would have heard about. So that's where I'm a little hesitant on it. Mama Hunt says, y'all may have already discussed this before, but do you think that that Mercer will choose the rogue or warrior level up? Well, I think if anybody's truly going to try to base it off of the narrative moment of what makes sense, I think it's going to be Matt. So I have no idea. Because he was saying the fighter thing, again, Echo Knight, is going to depend narratively. And so I think it's partially going to have to do with where Brennan takes it himself, because Brennan's currently kind of controlling the shadow thing. So this is something where they have to be talking about this. Like there's no other option. Both of them have to be discussing this together, because otherwise Matt's not actually making the choice for himself. So he has to be aware of this shadow thing and asking Brennan, hey, can I use this? Like, can I turn the shadow into an Echo Knight? Or are you doing like that sort of thing? We're going to see revised Echo Knight with the shades, like the Echo Knight. Yeah, that would make sense. Dano says, did anyone watch Draw Your Weapons? I thought it was fine, but nothing to write home about. I did not. It didn't really interest me. Yeah. I was wondering what his echo's going to be. People have talked about the Aussie. Someone made a mistake dissing on Brennan's birds. True. Matt going rogue would be so great. He has always liked the rogue class. Well, I mean, again, he's both right now. So there's nothing stopping him from hitting 3rd level in fighter, getting that, and then swapping, and the next level he goes rogue. But then, with multi-classing, you're in these awkward spots because at 4th level in 1, you get to do your feed or your ASI. At 5th level, he gets a 2nd attack if he goes fighter. And so then you're trying to like dip into the rogue thing, and it's, yeah. Do we think this is the last episode before the switch? Chitali, I think so. But you never know, right? The last, with the soldiers, their last episode, episode 6, ended up being really long, so they split it into 2 episodes. So that could just be what happens, right? And then we end up with the 7th with them. But I think their plan was for this to be the last one. I did like Takona's trying to be more assertive. Oh, Octus? Are you talking about Octus? Oh, but so Octus tried his whole thing with Julian, which was great. He was like, hey, it seems like you talk to me sometimes like you don't realize I'm like the son of a sundered house. Which one, it's like, dude, they tried to kill you, like whatever. But on the flip side, Julian's quick reaction to be like, no. I would talk like this to anybody in your house. Like, don't think you're special. Like, well done. It's quick on his feet, that Julian. Do the new pins for the different tables tell us anything about their stories? Oh, I didn't look at them. I know that there was merchant pins, but I didn't look. He's been on the SUV, saw Shadow following it. It'd be funny. F.E. to Julian. Yeah, I agree. I think that same thing he said he would do what makes the most sense narratively. Yeah, but in order for the Echo Knight to make sense, he has to have been talking to Brennan about like, hey, I want to be an Echo Knight. Hey, let's do this shadow thing. So it's going to depend on whether Brennan gives him that moment or not, which means he's probably going to have talked to Brennan about which one he wants to do. Right? At least that's logically, that makes sense to me, but I'm just a dude on the internet, so I have no idea. Like, I could be completely off the mark, completely possible. Nikki says Thaz would have known what Hal would use the paint for. He would paint the theater. Thaz knew this, so the paint has to have some kind of interaction for the theater. Maybe. I mean, the logic is there. Like, I can follow the thread that you're pulling on with that. Don't know for sure, but I can definitely follow that idea. Maybe Thaz planned it out beforehand. Maybe it was sort of the consequences for the ritual. Maybe the Echo Knight thing is why Valus hasn't told Julian he's cursed. An above table kind of thing. Also completely possible. Coconut, welcome in. Hello. Now, maybe I'm missing something. I just watched the level up video. They were wearing different clothes to episode 16. So it's just they filmed the level up before episode 17, in which case I'm not getting the issue. No, so they are wearing different clothes. And I could be wrong here, but I thought something specific was said by Brennan about how they were recording 2 episodes that day. And so he thought he was jumping into episode 2. But they were doing the level up first, which means that they recorded 16, they changed clothes, they did 17, or the level up, and then they do 17. That's what I understood. And again, it is what it is. I just personally don't love that because it throws it more in the face of like, this is all made up. Like, this isn't an act. Like, I think one of the beautiful things about Critical Role, to me, was the idea that like I do what they do. Not on their scale, not as good as they do in terms of role play, but like once a week I show up with my friends and I play D&D. Once a week we get together and do it. Knowing that it's like, no, they get together and they record 2 episodes a day for 4 days and do like it takes some of the magic away from me. I still watch it. I still like it. We still do a pre-show. Nobody take this as hatred. It's not. But it takes some of the magic away from me, which is why seeing that in my face by them being like, hey, we're recording multiple things today, including 2 episodes and doing whatever. I'm just like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. But that's just me. Have you heard the theory that about Julian having Theology as a shadow? Yes. Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's what I think it would be. Would definitely be something related to Theology when it comes to that. Ashley's dice better be kinder tonight or combat could get ugly. No Aranessa to haste Julian. Yeah, Julian is going to have a big drop in power level because he's not getting hasted every combat. So this will be interesting. But, so they lost Aranessa, but they have Dame Gaia, and I doubt Dr. Talter is really going to be adding a lot. But maybe she is. Maybe we'll be surprised. And she'll be having some extra stuff up her sleeve. But we do, I hope for Ashley's sake that she rolls better. They could have been filming episode 24. We don't know how many are in the can. True. The Seeker's pen seems to have a, well, no, because they were there and they were ready to get into the next episode with all them at the table. But maybe, I don't know. The Seeker's pen seemed to have a sun on it. I assume this is not to Tannesar and the Beardale they're in. That makes sense. That makes sense. I am expecting 1 to 1.5 more Seekers episodes to have give us the RP their goodbyes and where they go next. Completely possible. Or tonight's just going to be a long one. Like maybe, you know, the last for a while now, all the episodes have been like 3.5 hours. So maybe this one ends up being 4 or 4.5, 5, something like that. And it's because they try to put it all in. I know 2 weeks ago, Brennan said something about having 2 more episodes with the Seekers. That's what I thought. Yeah, so it could have just been, well, yeah, he wouldn't have known then. He might have known, I'm going to try to fit it all in the next 2 episodes, right, Candle Gal? Also good to see you again. And then maybe it doesn't work out, right? Like, you can't control how fast some stuff goes. So he could have meant, like, 2 episodes, sticking with the trying to get 6 episodes, but maybe it just wouldn't work out. Maybe the Doctor would go full prophecy mode and call out Julian's shadow as the Aussie. Yeah. The only reason Julian doesn't try to kill Octus is because Octus is already dead. I think there's more to it. Made that moment happen if Matt says he chooses fighter when he levels up. Also possible. But I don't think he'll choose it if it doesn't narratively fit. And narratively fitting would be with the shadow, right? If we think Echo Knight. So that's where I'm having a hard time with that one. Mbibe Next Tech. If they encounter the troops and Julian commands them, I think he'll become Battle Master. Ooh, that would be interesting. That would definitely throw a wrench into everybody thinking it's Echo Knight if he starts commanding the troops. That would be really cool. That would be really cool. I like that, actually, Next Tech. Poopa says, is it Poopa or Papa? I'm used to it with Papa, normally seeing 2 P's, but we'll say Papa. What do you think about their choice on level up? I think there are cooler, better options than Shadow Touched, but I'm okay with it. Like, if they would do something more narrative, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think we could learn anything about Matt. And then Taisha was very set on going durable. I would have liked to see something else. I think durable, same thing. Was it Thimble took durable as well? It makes sense with the, whatchamacallits? Hey, Lucky Census from Home Winemaking. Thanks for that over on TikTok. Desperate Measures. It makes sense with Desperate Measures. But it's also like, really durable? Like, that's your 4th level feat is durable? I don't know. I'm not a giant fan of that one, but it's their characters, so hey, I'm happy. Whatever they pick. Defenestration says, I know we're split on the fighter subclass for Julian, but does anyone have ideas on the rogue subclass? Well, if he chooses rogue, he doesn't get a subclass yet. He's only level 1 in rogue, so he only gets 2. Yeah, he only gets second level rogue, so he gets like cunning action, basically. Kaylee Scott, hey, welcome in. Good to see you again. But what he'll go to eventually, I have no idea if he goes for a subclass in that. But I don't think he will. I think he's gonna go fighter subclass. So yeah. Jason says 109 in chat, like and subscribe. Hey, yeah, we'll choose real quickly. If you are watching on YouTube or TikTok, you got to do 2 things. If you're on TikTok, double tap your screen, give me some likes. If you're on YouTube, click the thumbs up button. And I don't care what you type in chat, just type something in chat. You can say, hey, Nerdcore, you're so handsome and I love you. You can say that just to tell the algorithm, wow, people really like this guy. You know, they really like this pre-show he's doing, and they'll show it to more people. So just do those things for me. All right, double tap your screen on TikTok, give it a thumbs up and type in the chat on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, give me a Prime sub or something. Last week was great for lore, but it did seem to drag a bit at times. I think the ending was cool. Like the lore we got towards the end. I also was kind of surprised. They pulled out a battle map for the combat, and then there was just not a combat. So there's that. Oh yeah, and Sherry reminds me, Discord. Yes. Linked in the description on YouTube, there is my Discord. Please feel free to join. We do a Critical Role live chat during the episode, so people, are in there like, oh, that was so cool, or oh, what did they say? Oh, what was that person's name? And so people help each other out. They answer questions, all that sort of stuff. So feel free to join the Discord. It's linked in the description on YouTube, and it is linked to my bio if you're on TikTok. Love your content. Thank you, Home Winemaking. Thank you. Coconut, thanks for the early response. No problem. Do you think we will likely get a character death before the end of the first rounds of the 3 tables? I'm guessing not. More likely we loop back to the soldiers. So we talked about this earlier. I think the plan from Brennan is he doesn't want people to die in these first however many first arcs, right? And these first arcs, no. Do I think it could still happen? Yes. So I'll say this. I wouldn't be super surprised. I would be a little bit surprised, but I wouldn't be super surprised if a character died. But I don't think that's the plan. I think they're going to be tested. I think just like with the soldiers, there's going to be moments where you're like, wow, they are outgunned. But I don't think the plan is for them actually to lose anybody yet. But you never know. The dice fall where they fall. Ashuary just said AI. I don't know what that means. Dow says, if his shadow is Theozy, then why did his shadow choke him? That was the freaking whatchamacallits, I think. That was just the shades and stuff, like a cool narrative sort of thing, I think. Let the goth kids play with Shadow Touch. No, it's cool. Like, again, just pick what you want to pick. Whole time he's waiting until Rogue 3, and he's going to be a Phantom Rogue. He's just going to wait. That would be cool, too. Jaden asks, what's your opinion on the group still allowing Velos to travel with them out to reveal her end goal? Obviously, they're not going to kick Ash out of the group, but it's all they're cool with it. I understand the idea that, it is a little odd where she's like, oh no, like, I think you guys killing the gods and all that sort of was a terrible mistake. And I actually kind of want to bring them, my god back. Like, I can understand why I'd be like, wait a second. What do you mean? But yeah. The Durable makes sense to me only because she is an orc. Arctis could low-key rock with Sorcery Initiate. Yeah, there are a lot of good feats people can choose from. Rabig asks, ideas on Taisha's private talk with Brennan about possibly leveling up her wild shapes. I'm curious what that means. Because wild shape does level up, right? So I don't know exactly what she's hoping to talk to Brennan about and how they'll balance it or bring it in and make it make sense and not be broken, because it does level up, right? You get stronger, you get access to greater wild shapes. Your hit points go up in 2024 because it's done differently. Like your armor class goes up, right? Like as you level, your wild shape gets stronger. So I'm curious what she meant by that more than anything. Durable is so lame. Yeah, a little bit. Swashbuckler, I think his style fits Swashbuckler. I don't know if Julian fits Swashbuckler, if that makes sense. Matt, thanks for the roses on TikTok. Something in chat. Thanks, Jason. Do we know for sure that the shadow was the one that's been around Julian since first episode of something for the there? So I think that was just the shades. That's my take. My interpretation was that was the shades, not his shadow. Hey, Nerdcore, you're so handsome and I love you. Thank you, Jaden. Appreciate that. Young Custard says, Swashbuckler Rogue, I think, and Julian has 16 charisma, if I remember. Yeah, they all have really good stats in almost every spot, though. So it's hard to be like, oh, that's that. I also think Julian just wanted to, or Matt wanted to play Julian as somebody who had charisma. But I could see Swashbuckler when I see Julian, but for some reason, like his upbringing and stuff doesn't take me in that direction, I guess, if that makes sense. Hey, just jumped in, excited for tonight. So I'm leveling up. What's up, Emma? Hey. Nurse Jojo, welcome back. Good to see you again. Of course, same to you, Emma. Greyhawk, hello. Good name. It's a good name. Actually, the Oxy will sacrifice himself at some point. I can see that, Mama Hun. Today's episode is going to be longer. Do you just think that, or do we have some sort of information calling in? I would say first character death is going to be around episode 25 to 27, which would be around the time we get back to the soldiers again, or a redo, or a mix-up. Thank you for the dolphin home winemaking event. I wish I knew what the TikTok things mean. Like I get like hearts and GGs and dolphins over there. I don't know what any of it means, but thank you. Matt is Leaky Boat. Seems like he also spilled some tea about D20 Productions coming up. Yeah, I put a little video out on that. I think it's a stretch a little bit because I don't know if they would have kept it in the interview had it been a real leak, but it did seem like it. I will say that much. It did seem like it a little bit, but I'm cautious. Matt said, remember she wanted that talisman of her god, so it was either she came along or they all fought her. Yeah. Yo, what's up, Plog? Hello. Do we know what subclass Taisha is? Same with Valus. I don't think she's used her channel divinity at all yet. I think she used a spell or a channel divinity. I thought we did know. But maybe we don't, Young Custard. And Taisha, I don't think so at all. I think she said it, and for some reason I don't know off the top of my head. I feel like maybe it's on the wiki or something. I actually think Taisha said it. But I could be completely wrong. Circle of the Land. Yeah, hey, Slice with the resub. Thanks, dude. Yeah, she's Circle of the Land. At least that's what the Crit Wiki says. Yeah, Circle of the Land. Well, the Crit Wiki says Circle of the Land. I could have sworn at one point she said herself, like she said something about Circle of the Land out loud. Andrew Robinson, welcome in, dude. Good to see you again. I think Octus might multi-class to Shadow Sorcerer later, like a late awakening of his family's bloodline. I could see that. I mean, it makes sense narratively, unless it goes in a different direction. Nyan says, I seem to convince Julian is an Echo Knight, which I do find likely too, but he could be an old boring Battle Master. The Battle Master maneuvers fit the Divino's combat. Yeah, so just like somebody else said, it could be something like that based on other things. I just think the shadow following him around and all that links to that very intensely, the Echo Knight idea. But we all could just be biting on some bait that is going to trick us. Wouldn't want a god resurrected. I think it's kind of widely accepted by most that they agree that the gods needed to be taken out. So I don't know that they've outright said like we don't agree with it or think whatever, but I think that's like the norm across society is that. But I could be wrong. I laughed when Julian mentioned the talisman of the hair during the level up video and everyone lost it. Yeah, it was hair. What? Sorry, I don't know what. I got a lot of upper hiccups and air and I don't know what's going Echo Knight Fighter and Phantom Rogue might be peak for Julie to be edgy and dark. Yeah. But being level 6 and just being level 3 into classes kind of blows. Honestly, every one of the characters have amazing charisma. Yeah. They did stat rolls that resulted in most people having very, very good stats. Matt, Echo Knight. I also think Octus will decompose throughout the campaign. I don't think he will unless he decides, because I don't think that's part of being a hollow one. But they might narratively do that. These voice actors can't handle having a character that isn't high charisma. Fair. I mean, they're all charismatic. Young Custard says, I feel like Velas used Guiding Bolt once, which I think is Oath of Glory, which is the same as Tayor. She did use Guiding Bolt, and hers was like dark. It was not the same like bright light as it was described by her. Velas is Oath of Vengeance, used Valve Enmity. Oh, did she the Wild Heart? Who did she use it on? Do you think we have met some backup PCs? No, I don't think so, Nathan. Again, that's just me thinking. It's just speculation, but I don't think so. Tasha used Circle of Land ability in Plaza Divinos. Yeah, and that's what, and her thing says Circle of Land, Murican, also welcome in. So I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yeah, the Fantasy White Snake thing was cool too. That was a good funny moment from that. I remember people talking about Wildfire since there was so much heat and stuff in her early role play. It was metal. It was a lot to do with metal, which they said was just a part of kind of her druidic like ability where, you know, druids kind of impact plants and stuff. The Loys can also have an impact on metal. They established that at some point, that hers included some like being able to kind of mess with metal the way that she can mess with plants. I feel like Octus has some main character energy like Imogen from campaign 3. Well, right now, definitely, because he's a descendant of the house that seems to be the main villain as of right now. Again, whether or not that stays consistent, Xander, that definitely seems to be the case right now. Unlucky asks, CR campaigns are normally 2 years, right? At this pace, how long could this go? I think they go between normally like 2.5, 3 years. I could see this one being the 2.5. Have we seen Taisha Wild Shape yet? Yeah, she turned herself into a wolf when she was running up to Plaza Divinos. Right, JP? When she was running up to find Octus when he got his heart taken out. I'm pretty sure she turned into a wolf. Druids go from 4 known forms to 6 and can shape from CR to 1/4 to CR2. They can't fly until level 8. Yeah, but they do progress as they go. And if you're, is it of the, not of the land, which one is the more animal, the wild shape focused one? I played a character that was that, and they're pretty solid. I think in 2024, like, it felt pretty good. Moon, yeah. So I enjoyed the wild shape druid with that. Watch him into a wolf in the preview, yeah. Someone has to play an Einfasen? Heck yeah. Trickus, I agree, that would be dope, but then they have to just German accent the whole time too. What if later down the road Octus turns godly, as in like becomes a god or starts to believe in gods? Larry Clark, also welcome in. They are doing mending on him, which worked to fix him. He can be healed up to the point of when he died, so healed up to the point or mended. I don't think Octus will decompose. Yeah, well, that's I agree. I don't think it's going to decompose. And that was basically just Brennan's way of establishing that you can be healed to the point of when you died, not brought back. Defin says, I find it funny that with this many PCs that we still have a ton of class overlap and some classes left in the dust. I don't know how much of that was intentional. Like, I'm curious if Brennan was like, you can't be a cleric because nobody's worshiping the gods. But then he allowed a paladin and Velas to be somebody who wants her god back. So I guess it doesn't make as much sense. And I think they met somebody who was a cleric. So maybe he didn't say you can't be clerics, but it does kind of be like, wait, huh? That nobody picked cleric and stuff like that. And we got multiple paladins. We got, what, 3? Right? She has been using her little metal piercings all the time. Yeah, exactly. Young Custer says, guys, call me out if I'm crazy, but I think during the Soldier's arc, Thimble was getting her dex damage added to the offhand attack. Brother, I brought this up so many times. Everybody's like, Thimble's so strong, she's so whatever. And I'm like, she's not following the rules. Like, she's adding damage where she's not supposed to. She's giving herself advantage when she doesn't have it. Which I think they're honest mistakes, but you are 100% correct, Young Custard. She was adding offhand damage. In her offhand damage it's 5. She has a 5 dex, plus 5 dex. So she was every round basically doing an extra 5 points, and across 5 rounds, an extra 25 points of damage. That's enough to kill something. Yada yada yada. But yeah. And a dawn and a snake. Moon. Okay, yep. Saw that. Sleep starve. Non-CR question with seasons go with tomato and lemons. No idea. Yeah, and later a snake. Oh yeah, did she turn? Yeah, she turned into a snake and hit the glass and stuff. For some reason I thought those things were when she was creating her like familiar or whatever, companion. Silver Tiger, enjoying the show, NERDCORE. Hey, well, glad you're enjoying it, Silver Tiger. Thanks for being here. Do we think they could be going to 2 tables instead of 3 tables after the Schemers table? I think, assuming, what would they do there? They'd add 1 to the soldiers to make it 6, and then 2 to the other table to make it 6. So a 6 and a... Do I think that? No. Would I probably like it more? Yes. Like, I would probably like that more, but I don't think they are going to do that. I think that they kind of said, hey, we're doing 3, and that's the way it's gonna be. And that's just, yeah. I think they have everything planned to do the 3 tables for now. But I wouldn't hate it. Fawn, yeah, I knew what you meant. He turned into a snake that time. Yep, she did. The comments by Wick about burning down his house, which he could better do with the Schemers, and then the cold open with Thimble with Thimble wanting to catch up with Octus. Oh yeah, I could definitely see people swapping around. It would be very interesting though if they just went down to 2 tables. Now that you've said that, now that you put that thought on my mind, I'm like, please. I'm kind of like, yes. So maybe they needed to set things up with all these people being kind of separated in 3 different groups, and then they'll end up coming to it. But it's also like all their marketing, everything about this was like, it's going to be 3 tables. It's going to be 3 tables. It's going to be the Seekers, the Schemers, and the Soldiers. It's going to be, and so the idea that they just go, and we cut 1, and we're just at 2 tables now, feels odd for the marketing. But yeah. Where was the filament shipment being sent to? Venatus? Yeah, I believe it was Venatus. Do we get the well-intentioned grilling merch? I'm trying to remember what that reference is. Like, I can hear it, like in my head, like I know that, but for some reason it's just not hitting me. BW just says, we haven't really dug into any gods yet, so I expect that to be revealed near the end of the campaign. No reason why the gods had to go that they have revealed. No, they have said why the gods had to go. Asgra was bad and mistreating the orcs, and basically was the one who was not offering like a good afterlife like the other ones did. The other gods at least had afterlives. He was like, no, my afterlife is like, you're gonna suffer. And so the orcs fought back. And they got the people to fight with them to fight Asgra. But then the other gods sided with Asgra. And so then the people were like, oh, so you don't really care about us and our well-being if you're siding with him. And that's why they fought them. That's why they fought the gods, BW. Coconut says, I hope this arc ends with them heading to the Golden Orchard, which would be interesting to see rather than going back to Dalmakiar. I also hope so, because the group in general likes Aranessa. They know she was going there. Julian wants to find out if his family is alive and also see Aranessa. So it would make sense for some of them to go there, for sure. But it also made more sense for the freaking soldiers to go with the hounds to the circle, and they still went back to Damakar, so. Andrew says, Octus is in a good position of becoming a Hollow One, Celestial Azamar, and maybe fulfilling that prophecy a second time. I don't know about that one for me. Think you become an Azamar? Spooderman, thanks for the heart, dude. Yo, what's up, Dealing in Fiction? Hold on, did my... Oh no, it's still good. All right, let me catch up. Nyan says a D&D 2014 Moon Druid was the best tank mono class. Yeah, it works different in 2024, but I like it. American says, Paladins are not uncommon in Adamant. The Hounds are Paladins. Brennan using Oaths, not needing gods. Yeah. Was a Cleric of Truth. Yeah, something like that, Young Custer. That's what I thought. Somebody had said that they were a cleric. And so I was like, so they've met a cleric now. So maybe that would have been, if somebody would have chosen to be a cleric, they would have worked with the totality. Because that seems to be where the clerics is the totality. I would like 2 tables more as well, but it's probably a schedule thing. Yeah, it gives people more time off when there's more tables. Defin says there's no monks, clerics, or barbarians. There's 3 paladins, 2 wizards, 2 rogues, 2 sorcerers, 2 warlocks. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Wait, who's the second wizard? Murray? Oh, Octus. The United Faction pin suggests they may have a single table in mind at some point. No, I definitely think we will get episodes, or maybe the ending, there's some group fights and all that sort of stuff. Why do you think Octus's sisters sent them away from Venatus and the Filament? Does it counter their magic? What do you mean sent them away? Send who away? Joke from the cooldown. Yeah, I just couldn't remember like what it was referencing. The Filament to me seems almost like a different form of Zidium. Why is... Who are we talking about, Samuela? Why is Feith following a sign? Oh, Death following a sign of a vassal house in the main house of the fairy. Death, yeah, I think that is literally him spitting on the corpse, messing with that burial ritual of the orcs and causing a shadow to follow him. That's my take, because of thinking it's going to be an Echo Knight situation, but that's just a theory at this point. Also, the Shaper said that they would give 1/7 of their followers each to Azgra. The stone's names, and there are statues made of stone, or titans, so I bet they are the book, and Octus could find their names and maybe have some power over them, or Taisha could. I don't know, because they said it was the Callistra that were the ones who were able to do those sorts of things. So I don't know if it's specifically tied to them, but it was really cool that, like, and then some of the statues had like faces of horror and stuff, and they had fallen and their arms were contorted. Mama Hun says, I got the feeling that the nobility wanted the gods less, but the common folk were more ambivalent. Like they would be okay with the gods. The orcs, of course, had legit beef. Yeah, but from what we've been told, it was just that Azra was bad. The orcs fought back. People joined them fighting them, and the gods took the side of Azra. And so then people were like, oh, you guys suck. And so they fought back and killed the gods. Mitchell says, I think tonight's cold open will feature Murray, since we got Cadigan and Tyranny last week, and Azunia the week before that. And the Cadigan lore last week, Mariana. I agree with you. I think it's most likely we will get Murray. What are my thoughts on the Cadigan lore? I'm excited. I mentioned I did a whole video on the big things we learned last week, which we learned quite a few big things. One of them being Cadigan's backstory is a little more open. We know that there was at least a wife, potentially a daughter, because he also heard a woman say Esme. So it could be a wife and a daughter, and something that he feels very strongly about. and it like made him shut down and all that. I think it's cool. I'm glad we learned a little bit more about Cadigan and his backstory, because he's played it pretty close to the chest so far. So I'm excited we learned a little bit more about that. Wonder if people using filament are clerics, or maybe they are celestial warlocks. Well, different people have used it. I mean, what's his face? Wick has used filament, and he's a sorcerer. So the whole bit about Wick's wife to be's family having some substance that can dilute the filament has me wondering. Wondering what? The suffering of designing a combat for a high level party with the whole cast. Oh, yeah, that will be miserable. Dealing in Fiction says, don't know if this has been mentioned, but I am thinking the remainder of the soldiers that are left alive of the 180 that were killed aren't just sacrifices, but are vessels for the Celestials. So yeah, somebody else brought that up, I think in a comment on my video recapping or the big learning, that they think some of the soldiers were brought there to basically serve as, yeah, like, to become Celestials and stuff. And, you know, because then it's like, oh, the Dakotas will have like an army of Celestials. But they would have to like take out all of them, or like get all of their hearts. So sending an army of 180 at yourself seems a little risky. I think Tyranny will kill Cadigan. You think Tyranny's going to kill Cadigan, Beduzia? Edwin, what's up, dude? Welcome in. Do I see anything in this? Oh my god, the fact that like I think everybody got it right. As soon as he said, "You see a reflection of a haggard, drunken man," we all were like, "Oh, he sees his own reflection," right? Robbie didn't. Robbie somehow didn't realize it was Cadigan looking at Cadigan, bro. Like, that was so funny. And he's like, "Oh, you got me." And I'm like, I can't believe. He was like, do I recognize him? It's like, yeah, it's you. It's freaking you. You're the haggard drunk man. I really enjoyed that. Wound him or the wolf? I do think when Julian goes swashbuckler when he gets his third level of rogue, I would agree. You know, I said earlier, I don't like he doesn't fit like in my mind, but with the way he likes to play him, like Aiden even mentioned, movement, getting out of whatever, like swashbuckler is able to attack and get out and do all that. So, and then we'd have two swashbucklers out of the players. Samus says, also during Octus's death, someone was watching him during his walk in the woods. I think his family made a deal with someone who would help with the crafting of a celestial, with someone who wanted the stone since the family took his heart. What is Taylor's class again? Taylor's paladin. Seemingly Oath of Glory. Yeah, like Merkin said, Taylor's Glory paladin. Larry Clark says, it just came to mind, but what if Octus got his hands on some of the filament to help him get even stronger? Yeah. I wonder if Brennan has a way to implement if the players choose to augment themselves with filament. I wonder if he has a system for that, and if the players can do it, and if there's a drawback. Because there's no drawback, then the players are just going to filament, like all of them are going to filament. So I wonder if mechanically he has something that the filament gives, because it's where the power comes from, like the light power that these other people are using, and they're healing and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm quite intrigued. Connor said, I was shocked Robbie didn't get it, but that made his realization hysterical. Agreed. Nathan says, have you spoken about Cormorant stealing the weapon capable of killing a god or celestial? Well, they haven't stolen it yet, right? They just wanted it moved to a new wing, and they were really curious about it. Trukiss says, what are filaments used for, actually? Been moved around, has been a constant theme, seems important. Well, it's where the power, like it's the tattoos and the power that, like, you know, Wick says when he uses this stuff, like the filament glows and all that. So it's a source of power for sure. Mitchell says, I love the father-daughter relationship formed between Cadigan and Tierney. Imagine Wakander trying to woo Tierney and have a deal with Cadigan, Tierney's father figure. What do you think would have happened if the accepted role was above 10 instead of below 10? Oh, in terms of him seeing himself? He might have caught a glimpse of Mariana, but I think that could have had an even worse effect because he'd have been like, no, come back. Like when she went away, I think it could have been this really like emotional scene where he's like, bring her back, you know, like one of those things. Like he tells Tierney to bring it back. Isn't the weapon Belair? No, I think Nathan's talking about the swords, the pariah blades, where she came in and asked if they, you know, they could kill a god. Do you think they could wound a celestial, sort of thing? Dealing Fiction says, I'm hoping we're going to get a Taisha or Octus is going to activate a Colossal, having that Book of Stone with the names of Stone and Rock, think Octus is keeping it in his back pocket. Yeah, again, knowing that stuff and getting visions or being able to like know the names of and activate, I don't know if it would be like, oh, you can now activate this giant stone man, Colossus or whatever, but who knows, honestly. Could be neat. Stephanie, what's up? Welcome in. I read somewhere that Cat really didn't drink a lot, but does when he is closer to a city's civilization. It was interesting he was drinking in the cutscene. Yeah, well, they are getting close, right? They're a days out, if that's the case, right? Brendan said they would make it by the end of day tomorrow. They'd be back at Damakiar, if that's the case. What houses have we not seen the flags for? We've seen Taconis, Einfazen, Halavars, and Royce. So we haven't seen Cormorant, right? Right. And then that lady accidentally pricked her finger on the duplicate sword, not realizing it was a dupe. Yeah. Yeah. So the Cormorants were interested in that, but that makes me wonder if they know the plan of the Taconis and they're arming themselves for a Celestial coming about, right? Because at first I was like, do they know about the Halavar one? And they want to kill the Halavar basement angel? But now it's like, oh, maybe they know the plan of the Taconis. You have to speak to them in their language. Young Custard says, so we know that Taconis now plan to use Octus's heart to craft Celestial. Do we think that the use of the Stone and Night Song was to be used in original to turn Octus into a Celestial servant? Yeah, I don't know where that came into play. Like why they needed to like replace it with a Stone of Night Song. That they haven't really given us that. Just a legend lore item. Yeah, and they did. He used it, and he gained some cool information. I saw a dope scene, gave us an idea of the whole plan of the Taconis, which is neat. We have not seen Cormorant. Yeah, that's what I thought. Mitchell says, question. After the level up video yesterday, who do we think will be the first seeker to level up? I think there's a solid chance Valus levels up right away because she's currently floating 5 feet off the ground. You know, surrounded by birds. So if she doesn't do it instantly right then and there, then I'm maybe Taisha because she's trying to find her son. So I'm going to go Ashley and then Taisha. That would be my take is Ashley. And if that situation isn't actually a threat, then it will be Taisha. That's my take. What about everybody else? Who do you guys think will level up first in tonight's episode? Jason says, I think the start of a Night Song was meant to let Octus create a new path through death for the Taconis to have a monopoly on. Okay. Because it was the rib of the fairy. Oh, yeah. Okay. Love the Skyrim leveling up to get extra HP mid-fight. Yeah, so before they ever did the first level up, that was a huge topic we discussed on stream. We've been like, oh, do they get the HP when they do it? Do they blah, blah, blah? And now that like we discovered, of course, that they do, that's also a big reason to hit a level up. But it also means you're almost always going to do it during a combat because it just really caters to that. You get more HP. Those are when like really tough moments happen. So... Heart of a loved one in the bone of a celestial. Candle Gal, maybe. You got to find a lot of celestial bones. But yes, it is made of the rib bone of a celestial. Tabasco says, this is going to be a good episode. Not as good as the basement fight, maybe, but close. I think this will be a good episode as well. Stephanie says, I feel Matt will be last because he wants to wait for the moment. I agree. His is definitely going to be when the moment strikes for him to pick one of the two things he wanted to do. I definitely agree. Matt has the potential to be the last one. Unless that moment comes earlier, right? We just don't know. Caden says, Octus could be the son of Mercy if they just put some filament in him. But that prophecy's already been done. I love that sort of thing there where the Clive being like, my mom's name is Mercedes. Like, it's not even really Mercy, it's Mercedes. Murican asks everybody, he says, what do you guys think changed in the world recently that put the Taconis into action? Answer his question, chat. Dealing in Fishes says, what's your opinion on magical that are specific to certain beings? These swords that can kill a god, show serious damage to any lower being. Yeah, so that's been very interesting to me, how it's like, oh, these masks kill a god, but then they're just like level 3 warlocks. Oh, these blades could kill a god, but like, you know, whatever. This could do that, but you know, yeah, I don't know. But maybe they are really powerful, the other things. And maybe the Pariah Blade is like a leveled up powerful weapon. We just haven't seen it wielded by anybody. So it's possible. Nikki says, what if there's a faction trying to resurrect the gods? Velos would come to mind, but any houses that want to bring back that. I don't know if the houses do, but there are definitely people out there who want the gods back. Jimmy says, Velos makes most sense to me. Nurse Jojo agrees, says Ashley. Tabasco says, Velos, Taisha, Julian, Octus. Larry Clark says, which houses do you think is going down first? Taconis or Halavar, or possibly both at the same time? That's a good question. Right now, Taconis is more in line of sight. I will say that. But you don't have to, like, kill the Halavars. You just have to make everybody know that their religion is a fraud. Right? One, you need to defeat. Like, they are going to fight you tooth and nail this life and the next. The other one, you just have to let everybody know that they're frauds. So. Zenwalk says, love the show. Great to have something to watch a couple hours before the episode. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Zenwalks. Really appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoy it. Hope everybody's enjoying it. I will use that as my chance to say, if you are liking this, you want more of it, you want to support it, give this a thumbs up. There's a thumbs up button down below. Click that thumbs up button and type something in the chat, because that tells YouTube that it's engaging and people like it, yada, yada, yada. So definitely consider engaging with the stream in some way. If you're on TikTok, double tap the screen. Other things, my Discord is linked in the description below. We have a Critical Role live chat channel. So during the episode, we talk about it. Oh, what just happened? What was that? Who was that? Oh, that was so cool. Those sorts of things are all in there while it's happening. Also, I am doing this full-time currently as a content creator on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. And so if you want to support me, and the best way to do that, becoming a member here on YouTube. It's like $5 a month. Supports that. Subscribing to my Patreon, which is linked down below, also helps with that. Super chats, watching my stuff, engaging with my stuff, all that stuff helps. So thank you guys for all of that. Thank you for those of you who are saying something in the chat. Sleep Starved, Jaden, Biko, and Astri. Something back at you. All right. Let me now catch up. Sinwalk, once again, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. If not, Taisha probably after Julian. Daniel says, Tayor and Cadigan waited to level up until after the fight ended. The Seekers will probably all have to level up during combat. Yeah, they're in a tough spot right now. But maybe they won't. Like, it'll depend. Like, you know, is this... We're expecting something quite bad. Maybe it's not. I assume a big fight takes place in this mode with the Shades, I'm thinking. You think it's the Shades instead of, like, them coming across whatever plan is happening there in the... in Tannesar? Sunken Trade, oh, you're over on YouTube now. Hold on. Let me make sure that chat is still working. Thank you to everybody who's still typing something in the chat. I appreciate that. We know Julian is cursed, but has it ever been clarified or explained what kind of curse? No. No. Would the Blood Acre of a new Celestial have different properties from the Halavar Cellar Celestial? That's a great question. I would guess no, but it would be cool if it did. Like, oh, the one you have actually has high cholesterol, so you get a little less from that, but it's a thicker sort of, filament. But this one, oh, it flows way better. It's a faster filament, a younger Celestial. Yeah, I don't know. Be interesting, but I doubt it. Daniel says the Draconis might have learned that the Halavars have a Celestial and now they want one of their own. They are in an arms race, the River House, maybe. That's true. They did say they're allies, but it's also like where they're our biggest threat, right? That was established. Like, we get along, but they're also our biggest threat. Young Custard says, I feel like the Draconis are always scheming, but the Stone of Night Song has to be important, especially with having Theosophy be involved for some reason and then completing the execution. Agreed. Jimmy says, I think Theosophy found something that the Draconis know about, so they are on the move of some... That could also be what prompted that to happen. Mitchell says, the part of Matt deciding not to look at his HP rolls because he is multi-class and it's to know which class he is going to take is also intriguing. If you were Matt, would you take Fighter or Rogue? Fighter. I think Fighter, getting a subclass first, because again, what is he getting in Rogue at second level? He's getting, unless you really want your subclass of Rogue, in which case you're taking the next two in it, you're taking your Fighter and getting that, and then you get your freaking cunning actions the next time you level up if you really want to. But now you're then at that level, you're going to be battling against taking fourth level in Fighter and getting feat or ASI or just taking a second level in Rogue. Right? It's always the toughness of multi-classing is you're always giving something up to try to get something else and like weighing it out. Because sometimes it's like, well, you got to commit to 2 levels in this to get the thing that's worth getting. So, yeah. Daniel says, I think Halavar goes down first because Wick is also gunning for them. Yeah, well, that's, yeah, exactly. With that, the idea of him being able to say, like, my house is a lie, that sort of thing. And now I got to the part where somebody said something in the chat, something here. Thank you, guys. I agree with Custer. Might have to do with the Ozzy seal in the stone. Maybe the Draconis didn't want the smoke with the Sisters of Salandry. Also possible. Edmund, thank you for saying something. I think the bird Theosophy saw was a druid involved with Draconis or the god somehow. Ooh, that would be interesting. Yeah, I could see that for sure. Where he saw that and then there was that look in his eye where he was like, oh crap. Yeah, but he saw a falcon, so I'm intrigued as to why somebody would take the shape of the thing that like he kind of stood for, the whole Falcon's rebellion and all that. Something, woo! Thanks, Stout. Ashley says, remind me, tonight is the last episode with the Seeker's Table. That's what we were led to believe, because 2 episodes ago he said there's 2 episodes left. He, can't predict the future. So... maybe something takes too long, because again, I think the soldiers were only supposed to be 6 episodes and they went 7 because that episode went really long. So I think it's supposed to be the last episode. Will it actually be? We'll find out tonight. But it is supposed to be the last episode with the Seekers. Cog General, thanks for saying something. Tabasco said sometimes. Nathan says, love the show. Can't wait to see the moment all the tables reunite in some way. The catching up will be insane. That will be really cool. Yamato, thank you for the heart. Stanley, hello, welcome in. The area of Eternal Night, would this be a great place for a vampire? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. As long as the undead don't also want to kill the vampire. But definitely, I mean, it's just nighttime all the time, dude. He's living his best life. Absolutely, Stanley. Young Cursor says, Uncanny Dodge also conflicts with his bonus action attack, which should also bog down action comedy, goes with Echo Knight. Oh, wait. Uncanny Dodge takes up a reaction, right? So it wouldn't mess with his bonus action attack, but his offhand, his bonus action offhand would get messed up if that's what you're thinking. And unless you meant not Uncanny Dodge, the bonus action, I've said the word 13 times in this stream, and I can't remember. Cunning actions, then yes, that would conflict. Cunning action versus his bonus action attack. Reed Burnett. Sorry I'm late, forgot. Wow, Midnight Early Access started today, been playing it. Oh, I was too, Reed. I only got to level 81 though, before I had to cut it all off and come do this. Trust me, I'm a WoW guy too, so I want to be playing it right now, but I also want to be doing this. And I'm choosing responsibility over gaming. So I'm here doing this with you guys. Trying to work on my brand and grow my business, you know? So yeah, no. It's all good. It's all good. And the YouTube level up, they're recording both episodes. Is that episode in this one, or is it tonight's and the following? I think it's last episode in this one. Or else they wouldn't be able to level up tonight because it was recorded after, right? If that makes sense. So I want to say it's this way. Batson, yeah. But Julian is going to take a level in. I have not done a poll. I could do a poll for that. Sure, why not? Let me remember how. Start a poll. What will Julian level up in? Fighter, rogue. I'm going to add a third option. There we go. There's a poll on YouTube. Feel free to answer. Silver Moon is gorgeous. It does look really good. It does look really good. Caden says, Taconas are a prime target for a vampire clan. All right, let's recruit the vampires, dude. The Seekers trailer had footage for an episode we haven't seen yet, so there may be one more after tonight. This episode is seemingly being framed as the final one for this chapter. True. Yeah, Sears Man says, Fighter. Did you select Fighter in the poll, or are you just saying it? Right now, Fighter is quite ahead with 26 votes. Fighter has 88% of the vote. 4% as he dies before he levels up. So, which I don't think is likely. I don't think that's likely. Also, for those of you who are on the vertical feed of me, if you're watching this, there is a horizontal one on YouTube. If you just click my picture, you can see the widescreen. That's where the poll is. It's over there. I have the vertical one for people who are just, scrolling the shorts feed or something like that. But if you want to watch, I'm live I'm live on horizontal 16:9 and vertical 9:16. If you go to my page, they're both listed right there. So you can pick, and they're titled as well. The thumbnail says vertical, the title says vertical if you want to watch this way. But if you want to watch this way, there's another stream for that. Because I do see there's 13 people watching on vertical right now. So just wanted to let you guys know. All right, 40 votes, Fighter at 88%. So I think most people are expecting that Fighter level. I also am expecting that Fighter level, but you never really know, right? You never really know. If anybody's going to surprise us, it's going to be Matt Mercer. My next question for you all will be, do you think they fight a Celestial tonight, or do you think they thwart the plan, or do you think it happens and they escape? That's it. Do you think they fight a Celestial? Do you think they thwart the plan, or do you think that they escape? Do you stream WoW on Twitch? I did. I streamed WoW on everything when I was playing it during the War Within. I plan on streaming it now that there's the new expansion and all that. I would love to stream it everywhere. The problem is YouTube will then probably hurt me because all of the, I do most of my live streams right now are just these Critical Role pre-shows. So if I then go live with WoW and nobody goes and watches it, then YouTube will probably not show my stuff. So I want to stream it everywhere, but it's risky because algorithms suck. So there's that. I really think Matt has to roll a new character. This one is super stiff. Really, Argus? You don't like Julian? I've enjoyed Julian quite a bit. And I like that he's a contrast to the rest. I think he's a great contrast. I've enjoyed the Seekers quite a bit for the world building. There's been a lot of world building. Cog says, good call out. Horizontal on my phone and verticals on Apple TV. Hey, nice. Let's go, Cog. Heck yeah. JMO says, Echo Knight. Yeah, that's what we're expecting. All right, so as of right now, 48 votes, 85% fighter, 10% rogue, 4% dies before he levels up. Escape mechs for best drama. Okay. Dr. Caliban said, I was stated that the god supported killing all the orcs for rebellion and offered to turn a seventh of the people into orcs to preserve balance. And that was what people objected to. The schemers will probably flesh out the politics and family connections in this world. I could see that. I feel like it'll either be thwart or escape. Okay. Canogal says escape. Cade Williams says, I think the fighter level just because Matt needs to survive. I also think it's going to be an escape, hopefully with Alligar. I'm thinking escape. Okay. So we're thinking that there is going to be the summoning of a celestial and the group's just going to escape. My guess is that they have to fight Takona sorcerers, so I think they'll be interrupting a ritual. Okay, so you think they're going to thwart the plan. Or at least try to. Nathan says, I think they fall into it in a tragic sense. We may just be left with the cliffhanger of watching one be born. Ah. Larry Clark says, I feel they are going to fight Takonas via celestial that they possibly have hidden. Rugger says, escape. Reed says, we'll try to support you with that as well. As for tonight, think they learned some more juicy lore tidbits and have a smaller fight, probably with some undead or Takonas. Well, they're there now. I mean, they're in Tannesar, where this stuff is supposed to happen, and they've already come across a bunch of bodies of the group that they're there searching for. So, a small fight would be surprising to me. I'm here for you, Nerdcore. Found your videos because of Campaign 4, but you got me hooked to you and your content. Appreciate it, dude. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's not that I think some people won't. It's just the algorithm will punish you when you do some stuff. So it's like having a channel that's mostly Critical Role and D&D. Even some D&D stuff doesn't do as well because not everybody who likes Critical Role cares about the actual game. And so the problems with algorithms is a lot of time they put you in a bucket. And so you almost need an entirely new channel to talk about anything else, or else you hurt your own, right? Because it's algorithm based. They try to push it out to your subscribers. Your subscribers don't want to watch World of Warcraft. They like Critical Role. So then they take you out of that bucket. And then when you post something else about Critical Role, now it's harder to get those same people because the algorithm's already determined they want to watch it's terrible. But it is what it is. That's not what we're here for. Julian is designed to be an abrasive character. That's what makes him interesting. Yeah, he's a big contrast to the rest of the group. And I think he's very interesting. I like Octus as a character, but I also find him very exhausting at the same time. A little of him goes along. I agree with that, Scott. I agree with your take. I think Octus is unique. He's cool. There's interesting parts of him. I think too much of him and what has happened to him has been rehashed. I just think we've had the same conversation. It was even in my recap. If any of you watched my recap of this episode, at some point I said, and for the umpteenth time, we talk about how Octus died and how they don't know what happened and this and that and this, and they don't know what the Takona's plan is, but they know that they had a plan because they've said it 37 times, right? Like, it does get, a little bit like, okay, we get it. You don't know what the Takonas wanted to do. All right? Yeah. So I agree with you. I think he's cool, but I think there are times where it's exhausting with like, yeah, we get it. Your family and you died and you're back and all right. American says, maybe if Tonsil, I constantly say Tansel and then Tonsil. I change that every single time I read it. Promises aid as a celestial. Maybe the stone can help the crafted celestial specifically deal with death and souls. Humans don't have a psychopomp. Steal someone else's. Daniel says Julian is anything but stiff. He is quite the bon vivant, according to what we learned at Castle Torch. Yeah, that's true. I don't know if I'd say he's stiff. He's stern about some things. He's aggressive. Stiff might not be the right word. Nikki says Julian is great because he has room to grow as a character who will likely pick fighter. It makes the most sense to get his subclass. Agreed. I'm not sure if I'm a Julian fan or just wildly in love with Matt, a sarcastic, snobby. No, yeah. I mean, I think both can be true. 8 minutes ago the poll started. We're gonna leave it up till 10 minutes, but it seems very clear at 55 votes at 87% on the fighter. But we'll leave it up for these last 2 minutes of just to hit 10 minutes on that. Julian is the infancy of a big arc. The question is if he grows into a better person or further falls into his despair and bitterness from his decided throughout the campaign. It definitely seems he's going in the direction of a better person. I think we've already seen strokes of that. However, there's also the chance that something happened, right? Maybe they find out the Golden Orchard did fall and his mom and sister are gone, right? Then that changes things. That makes him even more angry and more upset. Maybe Lady Aranessa dies, right? Then he's even, right? So there are breaking points. So we may get this thing where he's like building up, he's becoming better. It seems like he's opening up, and then something happens and it just kind of messes things up. His algorithms for the boot of any good creed. Yeah, that's just the way it is, Jay. And I've dealt with him for a long time on various things. Stiff is probably a great word for Julian at Castle Torch. Oh, man. Factual, Jason. Stiff is probably a great word for Julian at Castle Torch. That's good. That is very good. Mitchell says, I think any possible romance with Julian will follow the love helps reform the ultra playboy trope. I could see that, yeah. Nathan says, are we thinking the gods are like dead, as in just physically like Sauron from Lord of the Rings, or could we see a brand new sun god? I lean more towards the first one, but that's only because the sun god said, like, you know, hey, the sun will always come out, like dawn will always come, that sort of thing. But that could mean in the form of something else, so maybe not the same. Jaden, thank you for the $2 super chat. Says, take my money. This will show that pesky algorithm. Thank you for your money. Thank you for that $2 super chat. I appreciate that. Daniel says, if Julian has no family left, he is going to go off the rails. I think it's completely possible. Yeah. I mean, Matt's pigeonholing himself with Julian. I might just miss the more involved or charismatic Matt, but he's been charismatic as Julian with like NPCs and in some interactions. And he's also been charismatic, just not in the friendly way. Charismatic is being a very capable speaker and communicator. And Julian has been that, sometimes even when he's being rude. His clapback against Octus, his clapback against, like, he's had some great lines of dialogue that are charismatic. They're well spoken, they're well placed, they're well timed. It's just not in the super friendly, awesome, I'm, you know, a ray of sunshine way, because that's not where he's coming from. He's coming from this place of he felt wronged, and he felt like his family, like his father messed things up at a point, and he had a tougher upbringing and stuff like that. And so he's playing us through an arc. And I personally support that. I like the idea of getting to see characters change and grow throughout a story versus like what you get in the beginning is what you're going to get at the end. And I think Matt is trying to give us that, depending on where the pieces fall throughout the story, how the cookie crumbles, if you will. Young Custer says, 100%. I also wish Taisha would be a bit more receptive to Julian fighting all of his instincts and choosing to apologize or own up to his mistakes. They've had some moments. I could see, yeah, that, you know, they've had a moment or two where they've expressed like, okay, well, hey, I appreciate the things you've done too, you know, whatever. But if you're saying, like, you want her to acknowledge even further, that's fair. Scott says, I do not know that I want a romance arc with Julian. Right now, it does not really seem to fit. Could change, but kind of like that snotty little thing is going on. Yeah, also, it's so early for romance arcs. I mean, yeah, you know, people can fall in love whenever they fall in love sort of thing, but it's like, guys, we're barely into this campaign. Like, some of these characters, we don't even really know their personality all that well yet, you know? So, yeah. Daniel says if Allegard doesn't make it, Taisha is also going to be on a rampage. Agreed. Agreed. She and Julian might find common cause in the pursuit of vengeance. Yeah, or she just joins his cause. So he's already on a vengeance roll, right? So you have that already, and now she feels the same, and now they unite over that shared vengeance. Under the authority of revenge, another, again, great line from him. I absolutely loved that. Are you here for the council or the path of the ancients? Here for revenge, brother. Julian is like a Game of Thrones character, Lannisters in particular. I could see that comparison. Jaden says, we don't need a romance arc with Julian. We need more sleazy energy. Totally fair. Gand says, I love the dynamic Julian brings to the party. I agree. I totally love it. Again, I like when people are different. I wish Ashley's Valus would have stuck more to her, like, very brooding to herself, I have one goal in mind, longer. But she gave it up soon as they were like, oh, here's the night song. She was like, sick. What's up, guys? I'm your buddy. Let's work together. I want to hang out with you. I want to protect you. Because I love that she came in with this sort of like distant, like I'm this ancient elf, warrior sort of personality. And then Julian had his, and then like you had, it was just different. There were people coming in with very different approaches. Dr. Caliban says, theory, they needed Octus's heart for the Celestial and replaced with Night Song to make the Celestial a psychopomp. Yeah, so I was wondering about the Night Song, so I'd love to see some theories about why that was a role in that. Yo, Famine, what's up? Charisma also plays towards intimidation. Agreed. People keep joking about Octus being like Taisha's son, but maybe who will end up being the only son she has left. Ooh, right in the feels. VP or Vipalno, I mean, you can feel the way you feel, brother. I disagree with you. I don't think Abria sucks. But if you don't like her gameplay, that's on you. I don't think you have to tell the world about it, but in other campaigns, it took years for player romances to develop. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't think it needs to happen super quickly. Let me close the poll. All right, we are closing at 15 minutes. 79% say fighter, 15% say rogue, and 6% say he dies before he ever levels up. Who of the cast chose what for their level up? They haven't yet, Rick, but there weren't a lot of options. Taisha was like, I'm gonna choose durable. Octus, it was between Shadow Touched and one other thing. They didn't have a bunch of options like the soldiers did. I feel like the soldiers just had a ton of options, and these guys didn't. Ashley was the only one who was between like 3 or 4 things. And then Matt, he doesn't get a feat or anything. He just gets to choose if he wants to be fighter with a subclass or rogue and get cutting action. I really wish to see what would happen if they put Night Song in Octus. Just stick it back in there, cut him open and stick it back in. Xander says, there's too little time at the tables for any romance. It would all seem rushed. I agree with you, but tell the people on Twitter that, because they're already all over that. I will once again talk about how weird and wild the Critical Role Twitter folks are. It's all sex and relationships. That's all it is. From like just the character art alone, it just turns into to stuff. Julian's values are a bit warped and misaligned for now. I think questioning him killing the rebellion will come before turning good. Can agree with that. Can't wait for Taisha to die to only be replaced by another Taisha. What do you mean? Now that I think about it, Julian reminds me a lot of Scanlan from Vox Machina, hothead playboy with deep wounds, and eventually become a fan favorite PC. Yeah, I think a lot of people already love him a lot, but yeah, I mean, Scanlan was a whole different beast. Scanlan was super unique. I think it's meant to be Jaime Lannister, hopefully minus the sister boning with sprinkles of Montoya. I think he is just meant to be someone who comes around, but she is already, yeah, exactly. My least favorite character is Taisha. That could be some out of character stuff for me though. So not fully fair on my part. Or else preference for RP style, I guess. There are 100% preferences for RP style. Wiccan or Code Open tonight. No, I think it's gonna be Murray. I agree. I think Bayless lost the otherworldliness, and the more she broods, the greater contrast we have in her flashbacks and trances, which in turn lets the audience emphasize with it. Exactly. I think it fit, especially once we got to see how pleasant and loving and fun her past was. To see her in a new state like she was in the first 3 episodes or whatever were super cool. But then she just kind of turned all that off. I love how into it Abria gets to combat hate. Yeah. So I think people 100% over exaggerate anything she does. They overreact to it because they're looking for it. And if people stopped looking for it so much, if they stopped staring at her while they played, and if they just were able to just reset, I don't think it would be anywhere close to as bad as they make it out to be. She is reactionary. She's reactionary, meaning when other people do stuff, but that doesn't hurt anybody, right? Like her face changing and being excited about something doesn't hurt anybody. So it's people, they search for stuff. It's okay if you don't love some of the RP stuff, but some people, you go way overboard. You are hating for the sake of hating at this point, and it's obnoxious. She does not always interrupt. Everybody at that table interrupts sometimes. Everybody. Every single person at the table does it sometimes, but you're looking for one person, and therefore you will find that one person. If you look for something to be upset about, you will find it. That is it. And I will no longer be discussing anything to do with that because that's not what we're doing here. Twitter's for other stuff. Yeah, I mean, people can ship and do all that if they want to. I just find that sometimes I get in there and people are like, again, before last week, people were like posting stuff saying like 100% Julian and Taisha have sexual tension. And I was like, in what world? Like, what? Like, people just be making stuff up. I really don't need any romance in the campaign. I don't need romance either. Like I don't, but I don't mind it. Like I don't mind it, but I don't need it. Is the way I see it, kid. Though catting and hitting on Murray was pretty hot. We'll see where that goes. Are all the same personality? I haven't seen a bunch of her characters. I totally see Taisha. I'm losing my spot. Going dark on this campaign if she loses her son. Oh, I 100% agree. So her character's supposed to be super wise, but she seems to lack any role play, but you like her as a player. I think she's been wise at times, but it's also, I think we've been told to believe the Circle of the Ancients and her being on that path and all that sort of stuff is this big thing, but she's also probably lower on that totem pole because we met these other people who are like the elders and stuff like that. So I don't know. You're my cousin to Julian, which means literal or figurative. I think figurative. Did she say it to him? What subclass is Valus? I think we determined, somebody said she used Valve Enmity. So that would be Vengeance. Troy's also gives a gift of reaction to other tables in terms of improvised storytelling. That's always a great thing. Yeah, I agree. Make strong choices. It definitely reacts to everybody. Baylor seems to me from the interaction with Oz is that she wants to see it through as guidance and see firsthand what the stone can actually do. Seems to well, that's exactly like her thing right now is that. At times, I mean, yes, but you're always going to have moments where people interject and they don't interject, and somebody wanted it at that moment, somebody didn't want it at yeah. Honestly, I'm going to see the readers especially on Reddit, and I'm glad you put your foot down with it. Yeah, it just, I made a whole video on this once, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about this. Do I think every person who doesn't enjoy Abria as much as the rest of the cast is a racist? No. Do I think they're all sexist? No. I think some people just don't vibe with the way she plays at a table. Just like I've sat at tables and I have not vibed with somebody else at that table. We just play 2 different games. Doesn't mean they're bad. Doesn't mean that's, we just play differently. And that's okay. Do I think some is rooted in that? Absolutely. But do I think most of the discourse is from people over focusing on it? Like they tune in to be like, what's she gonna do this week? Yes. And that's where I think they get it. And that's it. We're not talking about it anymore. You all talk about speculation of the 100 Nightingales. We have not talked about the 100 Nightingales. What do we think that's about, guys? What do we think that is about? I don't know, understand where you're coming from. She has no more. Do you think that we will learn more yet about Takana's siblings this episode? We still got 3 unnamed siblings. Maybe one of them is the one doing the celestial thing. It's completely possible. Shipping is annoying. I don't mind shipping unless it's like forced upon people. It shouldn't be forced upon the cast, and it shouldn't be forced upon other people. If you want to believe that these 2 characters should be together, cool. But like, I saw people like in the Q&As, like the fireside chats, just constantly posting the same question about like trying to like asking that person to ship with a certain character, like trying to put it on the player, you know, like, hey, get with this person, or people being like, hey, make your character be a lesbian, or hey, make your character be trans, or hey, make your character be. No, it's their character. Leave them alone. Like, it's okay if you want those things, cool, but leave them alone. That's just so odd to me. Like, do you want people showing up to your D&D game and be like, hey, make this character? No, man. Just odd. Even Matthew interrupted with a song last time. Yeah. The Druids call everyone cousin. They do, but they all call it each other cousins. Playing Wisdom is weird. I wouldn't say that Piker Jester acted wise. Dude, that's fair. It is. It's tough. It's just like some people aren't charismatic and they have a high charisma character. Some people, for instance, I tend to consider myself rather charismatic. Okay. So it is hard for me to enjoy playing a character who's bad at talking because I like talking, if you can't tell. So it's tough for me. So I normally, even if I'm playing like a fighter, I'm going to have at least like a 12 charisma or something. Like I'm going to have a 10 plus, probably a 12 or more, because I want to be able to engage with persuasion rolls and deception rolls and intimidation rolls and to talk and not feel like I'm talking above what I should be talking. Right. So it can be tough. I'm making my way downtown. I really find it making the ring browse. I think it's about any more because there are only 4 people. Cool. VPalno. Again, I'm just saying what I'm just saying. Late as usual, I kind of sort of stopped watching the new campaign, just fizzled for me. It's all good, Bach. It's tough. And the Seekers to me were a slower. I will say for the first time, and I might even continue this because I kind of like it. Before, I was watching the entire episode after this. So I'd go out of this after talking nonstop for 2 hours. I'd jump into the episode and I'm taking notes the whole time, right? I'm just, because I got to do my recaps. The last 2 weeks, I've done probably about half of the episode, stopped, maybe watched something on Netflix or just go to sleep. And then I did it like the next day. I finished it. I enjoyed that way more. The Seekers, for a while, when I got to them, it was hard for me to watch a straight 3-4 hours of the Seekers. It was not engaging me as much. I know other people love them, and I still like them, and I think we've started to pick up a little bit. But if you got to them and that's where you were like, okay, I need to slow down, or I'm kind of fizzling out, just watch it at your own pace. Watch my recaps and then jump in. Right? That's one method, is watch your recaps and then jump in now. Always possible, but I appreciate you stopping in either way. BW just says, I do like diving into the Druids for world building. We got a $5 super chat from Jaden coming in. What is it? I get that nerdcore as a theater kid at heart. Bard is my go-to class. I just love playing around with charisma so much. I played a Bard for the very first time a bit ago. Loved it. Not necessarily for the gameplay. I liked giving out inspirations and stuff. But I loved playing a Bard, like whipping out my lute or giving speeches and stuff like that. I love doing that stuff. But I also enjoy playing, a little more quiet, but when they speak, they have that power, like a rogue that kind of plays like that. Sorry, let me get back to this. Thank you again for that $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. Druids for world building, they're definitely powerful in this world. Hanan seems to be up to something, though, possible betrayal, or goes after Octus. I think he's honest with him saying he's not doing that now, but he's going to be ready should a time come where he needs to. Yeah, the Druid spam calling people cousin, but it took me off guard because she did call him cousin. She said, you are my cousin, which is slightly different because it's probably figurative. Yeah, probably figurative. Can we put a bet on the next animal type will wild shape into? I can do a poll, but I can only list like 4 or 5 options, so I don't know if that's really worth doing. LOL. Stitch makes a good DM. I just think of her as a player. Not sure why, but as a player, she doesn't try with me. Totally fine. Just as make. Oh yeah, there we go. Are the nightingales the soldiers transformed, or do the birds represent their souls? I don't know. Yeah, so that was an interesting question. Because bones were left over, so like they were the banner, but so then it's like, wait, oh, were those old bodies or are they new bodies? Like the banner and all that stuff was there. And yeah, I'm very curious what caused the nightingales and stuff. Not gonna lie, I watched the episodes and your videos, and I love that. Heck yeah, and I think that's fair because you might miss something. And my videos are freaking like 15 to 20 minutes long, so you play that sucker at 1.25 speed, which may be tough to do because I talk fast sometimes. And then you're done with it, and you might have you learned something or something you missed or whatever. So what I'm saying is watch my recaps and all my other videos, guys. Okay. Shipping I don't care for. Yeah. Not really big for me. Has wild shaped into Mitchell. We know a snake and a wolf for sure. And then somebody said a fawn, I believe. But I think that was her pet. I don't know if she turned into one. But I believe a wolf and a snake for sure. Outside of your vids and streams, that's totally fair, American. I just see some stuff on Twitter here and there. I don't engage with most of it, but I see it. I'm on team. Shapers aren't really dead. The birds are a semblance of remnant of Salandria. Ooh. Okay. So it's fun to lean into a low stat character can believe they are charismatic and not be. No, I agree with that. I like leaning more into, I guess, worse physical stats more than mental, because I think it is way harder to fake a mental stat. And I feel like it's harder to or easier to abuse. Like I have known people who have played stupid characters until you're trying to trick them or do something, and then all of a sudden they're really smart. Or when it comes to like you're divvying up loot and then they really care and they're really smart about it, right? So it's harder to do the mental stat because you're always going to be using your brain as a person. So I find it's more fun when it's like, oh, I'm a really weak character. I'm super clumsy. I'm not agile, right? Low dex, or I get sick all the time. I have low charisma, or constitution, things like that. I find easier to do. Seekers are a slower burn, but I've enjoyed most of the arc. Yeah, but it has been slow. And so that was a little tough for me. I've been watching each episode in 2 parts too. Yeah, I wasn't at first. I mean, up until episode like 15, I was freaking trucking through these things. Or I guess 14. And then finally, like one night I was like, I'm cutting this off. Like I've been watching for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I've heard them recap Oxus's death 4 times. I'm going to cut this off. I also think I'm just tired watching them. And so when I watch it the next day, I'm more interested and more upbeat when I'm like watching it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think it's a good play for me. My favorite Tyranny moment is when she perches on Wix and Taylor's chest, telling them not to move. That bit just made me laugh so hard. She's an inexperienced RPer, but I love her so much. Yeah, the sleep paralysis demon. Some combat and dice rolls do help one stay engaged. It's not even just combat that helps me. Like I enjoyed the dialogue. I enjoyed all the dialogue with the hounds. I enjoyed the interactions with a lot of the NPCs for the soldiers, the Obed Morn, the fairies. Not so much the fairies in Hawthorne's Glade, but the black rabbits. Like I enjoyed all of that. That wasn't combat. Might have to watch half because R9 is on deck. Ooh. Does Tyranny technically also have a form of wild shape? She turned into a dog when she was mad at Wick for not giving her enough attention. I don't think she turned into a dog in the sense she got any stats. I think she like disguised herself as a medium dog, which I don't think she could actually do, but I think it was allowed. I think she just used her like mask of many faces or something, and she was like, oh, well, it has to be like a medium or something like that, and so she did. But I don't think she like it's like a turn into a dog as much as a disguised as dog. At least that's how I understood. I could be wrong if somebody wants to correct me on that. I'm so far behind on chat. Hold on. That's what happened. And no hate to the cast. They're all awesome. And thank you to Best Part of the communities. Hey, let's go. I feel like there's a cold open or two out there of random rock encounters with the book just waiting to happen. 100%. Kid says, I think the Seekers felt slower in the story arc than the soldiers because they left the Overture in such different places. The soldiers were chasing people down. Seekers are running from scary combat. Well, the Seekers were also seeking something. right? They wanted to find out if Aligar was alive. They wanted to get away from the city. They wanted to find out if the Golden Orchard has fallen, right? They had goals too, but it was much slower. The dialogue was slower, and it was repetitive. I mean, I've said that a lot. It was repetitive conversations. I mean, just going over the same, yes, Octus died, yes, this happened, yes, so we don't know what the Conas are doing. We don't, just over and over and over and over and over and over. And that's where I was just like, okay. So it has been slow. It started, now we're getting new stuff, right? We're exploring, we're going to Tannesar, all that. This has been cool. We're getting lore, a ton of lore, stuff like that. It's been cool. Scott says, I do not believe the Shapers are gone. If mortals can kill a god, is it really a god? I think something else is going on that has not been revealed to us. Totally fair. Whipping out my loot. Phrasing. I'm actually really looking forward to 6 weeks of Murray. That could be cool. I just realized I was the one who said whipping out my loot. And then you were saying, thank you again. I may have been sitting here giggling like a teenage boy over that. Sorry. You guys just stop being pervs. Stop about my loot. I was talking about my loot, guys. Come on. I don't know if you guys ever saw this thing. This is a dice tray. So you take that and you slide that on. It's a Dice Tower dice tray. You slide that on. You pull this out, which is also a dice holder. And then you can drop dice in there. It is a loot that folds into a dice tower and dice tray. Yeah. Am I a nerd? Maybe. Maybe. Nah, he whipped it out. I whipped out my loot and I showed it to you. Maybe the Seekers aren't connecting because half of them aren't original players. There's also that, for sure. I bet for some people that's probably it. I just think Whitney didn't know she can't disguise herself into a dog. Agreed. Exactly, Connor. That's what I was saying. Jaden with a $2 super chat. That is a freaking sick. Thanks, dude. I actually got it. It's a whole story. I just saw it on Reddit and I made a video about it. I was like, this is super cool. This is dope, blah, 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 blah. And then the guy messaged me, or his wife messaged me on TikTok. I was like, my husband made that. That's for my husband. And so then she put me in contact and they were like, hey, do you want one? And I was like, absolutely. So, he made it custom colors. These are like, you know, my color. You see the blue and stuff. It also says NERDCORE 1 of 1 on there as well. Limited edition. So the guy made me one. And then I made a video about it. And then he kept asking me to make more. And I was like, that's not how this works. Cool. It's still very cool and very thankful and all that. But it was like, I posted stuff about his other stuff and all. Then I was like, okay, that's that. Yeah. She has to be careful not to Eddard Stark herself. It can be a mage that can summon or control birds. Dakona's probably, yeah, not everyone can be grog levels of stupid for hours upon hours of play. Agreed. Try playing as Rainman with 20 intelligence and 2 wisdom. Good luck. Yeah, I feel like wisdom is easier to play having low, where like you can just make bad decisions. Like you can know that, you know, whatever, but like, yeah, I don't know. Role playing a low-con person as someone who's always sick and bruises easy. Exactly. Still on team trucking through. It's really shaped my Thursdays. Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm still watching it. Like I said, I was watching them all the way through. Just lately, I think it's, again, talking nonstop for 2 hours is a little tiring. I don't know if you guys have tried to just and re-chat, do all that. It is a little tiring. And then while taking notes and having to pause and stop, it just, I think splitting it into 2 is going to be better for me. I don't think the Nightingales are going to be a roll for initiative situation. I think it's just a Brennan cliffhanger. I'm hoping to jump into some lore off the rip. I'm into that, Bear Cub. I think that could also be cool. I don't know if this is combat. I don't think this is combat, but it could be. Tyranny does disguise self. Yeah, that was an abuse of disguise self. Yeah, she just didn't know. But yes, it was an incorrect use. I prefer uninterrupted storytelling. I check out during the fights unless someone dies or something story relevant happens. Yeah, no, I'm with that, but it's just like I said, it's a lot for me, and I preferred the soldiers' interactions. They had better NPCs and more fun there. it was a little less everything is super serious, and this group has been super. The only humor has come out of character, not much in character. How many times are we going to learn that Octus died tonight? Hopefully only once. I think it'll come up at least once. I really hope we see a Chihuahua. Can you imagine a Chihuahua, How to the King, just rolls up and it's like, well, good day to you. You have it in my mind now, Nathan. Brennan, please. Where's Brennan? I'm known in my D&D group to have scavenged dice trays. Very nice. Yeah. Side-eye. Nice loot. Thanks, Pico. Loot State Tower was dope. Yeah, no, it's cool, man. It's super cool. Now, other than that, I just use this currently for my dice rolling and stuff. It's like a mimic on the front. This is what I currently use. These are the dice that I take with me. And I roll them in there. Oh, I'm gonna show you guys one thing. I'm sorry, we're getting a little off. This was really cool. I was the best man in my best friend's wedding, and he got me a D20. You guys won't be able to read it. The 20 says best man. Like when you roll a nat 20, it says best man right there. And then I always used to say when I'd be playing video games, if I like took somebody, I'd be like a later bot. And so the nat 1 is later bot. But yeah, it's a stone. This is a heavier dice. It's a stone dice that says best man on the D20. So pink ones, yeah, I roll these more than anything else. I roll the pink ones. And then this is a pink one with sparkles in it. It's kind of clear. It's got sparkles in it, but yeah. All right, back to this. I do think for those of us who have been following Critical for a long time, this has been an adjustment. Change is always hard, 100%. What do you want to see in the conclusion of the arc? I just want a good amount of mystery and also like a real answer for what the Daconis is trying to do. Like we know Celestial, right? Like or at least we think they're trying to bring back a Celestial. Why? I would like that. Brandon says, charisma is force of personality, which is why a goblin or an orc can have a high charisma. Doesn't mean you are nice, but it means you control the room when you speak. Agreed. Which is why I'm saying, like, you know, just because Julian is abrasive doesn't mean he's not charismatic. Snacks, hey, sounds good, Jason. Oh, we are over time. I normally end 4 minutes ago. Let me, real quick. How to the King would be dope. Love that dice tower. Heck yeah. Stranger Revolutions. It's about that time. It's Thursday night. Thank you for the good pre-show. Yep. Thank you. Not stop talking is exhausting. Kills my, like moisture. But dying character does all this marketing. This is a dangerous, deadly campaign. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get it in the first arc. Safe to say that we like different aspects of Critical Role, but we're drilling together in anticipation of tonight's episode. Y'all are awesome. Absolutely, Reed. Those pink ones. I love combat once. I won't watch combat more than once. A lot of time falls asleep during the combat. Have to watch. Yeah, for sure. Cool D20. Thank you. No Chihuahua. I just had about my Chewy dance. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Candle. I think we've had enough time with everyone to win a character death yet. Like if it happens, exactly. Like I get it. I do think that they marketed it very firmly for that, and then it's been kind of like not happening. But yeah. All right, guys. It is time to get out of here. Yes, I did. Ebola. Quite a while ago. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already clicked the subscription button yet, please click the subscription button. It's free. If you want to become a member, support me, that's cool too. The Patreon, join the Discord, link to the description below. Enjoy the episode. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. And I will see you guys in the next one. All right.